Thank you. Hi, this is Kim Ju-young. I'm a Deputy Secretary General for KMUN2012. Okay, before I move on to give my part of the presentation, we have a little quiz about the ROP, the rules of procedure that we have been explaining so far. And we'll have candies for those that, that answer the questions. Okay, so delegates, what are the 4 ways of yielding? And you don't have to name all 4, but for every way of yielding that you name, you'll get a candy. So please raise your hands. Okay, the green shirt, yes.
Chair.
Yielding to the chair, and what is that? How does it work?
You give the remaining time to the chair.
Yes, and you return to your seat. Okay, thank you. And the red sweater. Yes? Could you answer? Oh no, yes. Or jacket, yeah. Yes, yielding to another delegate. And then you'll be yielding your remaining time to another delegate. And can you guys remember, there are 2 more. Okay. Yes.
Yielding to comments.
Yielding to comments, yes. You can yield, there can be up to 2 comments, 30 seconds each. Thank you. And staff, please get candy. Alright. And okay, there's one more. Yes? Oh. Points of information, yeah. Yielding to point, yes, that's right. And points of information are the questions that other delegations can ask the speaker. All right, and actually we have more. Okay, so the previous speaker just, I'll leave this up for, we'll have another round of RP quiz, so please be attentive. Okay, so now I'll start talking about writing a position paper. So the KMUN 2012 requires all delegates to write a position paper for the conference. Delegates, you have to write a position paper for at least one of the 2 agenda items that will be discussed in your committees. So, what is a position paper? A position paper is an essay presenting your country's position and policies on the agendas of your committee. Writing a position paper will help you organize your thoughts and ideas and enable you to more clearly demonstrate your country's stance to other delegations. Position papers are usually 1 to 1.5 pages in length, and your position paper should start with a brief introduction, followed by a comprehensive breakdown of your country's national policies. And you should also remember to make proposals for resolutions. And we have prepared a list of components that are required in a good position paper. We'll have this posted on our Cyber Club, but I'll explain a few of these. Okay, so a good position paper should include a brief introduction to your country and its history concerning the topic and the committee, how the issue affects your country, your country's policies with respect to the issue, and your country's justification for these policies, statistics to back up your country's position, actions taken by your government with regard to the issue, conventions and resolutions that your country has signed or ratified, UN actions that your country has supported or opposed, what your country believes should be done to address the issue, and finally, how the positions of other countries affect your country's position. I would like to remind you that a position paper is a full-blown essay. That is, we are not going to accept any position paper that is composed of bullet points. And also, please check our KMUN2012 Cyworld Club for our agenda papers. Our student officers, who have the delegations earlier, will soon have written agenda papers to help you write your position papers. These agenda papers will contain the overview, history, previous actions, and future outlook of the agendas that you will discuss. You can also find a list of sources that you could look into for your research. So these papers might seem very long. However, we promise you that reading them will save you a lot of time and give you a definite feel for how you should start your research and prepare for the conference. Okay, now I'll talk about how you should write your resolution. Resolutions are written suggestions for addressing the agendas discussed in your committee. Resolutions are in one very long, but nevertheless a coherent sentence. And these are the final results of your conference, and that are drafted by the delegates and voted on by the committee. Usually, the committees require a simple majority, that is, agreement by half or more of the present delegates to pass. Delegates assigned to the committees of Security Council and Nuclear Security Summit, could you please raise your hands? Security Council and Nuclear Security Summit? Okay, so for the delegates in these two committees, we'll have a consensus vote. These are the exceptions to the simple majority vote rule. And for these committees, all delegates have to agree on passing the resolution for the resolution to finally pass. It is important to remember, however, that passing of a resolution is a very objective of our conference. Also, while multiple resolutions can be introduced, only one resolution can pass per agenda item. Delegates can thus add to and modify the introduced draft resolution, and this modifying is officially called amendment, which our DSG explained earlier. And this I will further explain later in the presentation. And how do you write a resolution? A resolution is mainly comprised of three parts: a heading, a preamble, and a set of operative clauses. Okay, so you can see up here a sample resolution. The heading of a resolution specifies the committee. If you can have a look at the very top of the resolution that is projected. So the heading includes the committee, the agenda topic, and the signatories to the resolution. Signatories are the delegates that have signed to demonstrate that they wanted to discuss the resolution with the rest of the committee. The preamble of a resolution states why the committee is addressing the topic and the past international actions that have been taken place on the issues. Each clause begins with a present participle, that is an ing. So in this resolution, it goes like, reminding all nations of the celebration of the 50th blah, 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 and so on. Okay, and yes, and each clause ends with a comma in this part. The preamble is followed by operative clauses. Operative clauses are the suggestions that the resolution makes. These are the essence of the resolution, and each operative clause begins with a verb and ends with a semicolon. So here it goes as encourages all relevant agencies of the United Nations to, and so on. Each operative clause contains a proposal or a single idea, and if a clause requires further explanation, a subclause of a bulleted list can be included. And you must follow this format when you form your resolution. And please carefully look at all the details, because you must stick to this structure to get the approval for introducing your resolution. And you can find this in the KMUN2012 Rules of Procedure. Now, how do you make amendments? Amendments are changes made to a resolution so that it will better suit the stances of the member states. And they're not to overhaul the content or reverse the main idea of the resolution, but they should complement whatever is missing and modify minor details to improve the resolution's quality. Up here you can see the amendment sheet for KMUN 2012. When you wish to make an amendment, you should ask the staff for an amendment sheet, which you can see now above. And once you receive this, you should specify the clauses you wish to amend and why, which we'll be explaining when you introduce the amendment to the committee after receiving enough signatories. So if the writing's very small, but it says want to change, add, or strike out, or modify. Now, how to prepare for a Model United Nations Conference. Because most of you here are unfamiliar with MUN, it is quite possible that you remain reserved for the entire conference. Well, obviously, we all wish to make the most out of this conference, right? So you have to demonstrate active participation in the debates. And participation is also key to our awards, which I'm sure that you're very much interested in. And to engage in fruitful debates, it is important to be well aware of the following components. So these are some of the things that you have to consider when you conduct your research. Okay, first, understanding the basics of the UN structure and how the committee you are to participate in fits into the organization will be very helpful. By knowing this, the delegates will know what their forum can and cannot do within the UN structure. Because in our conferences, the delegates should suggest measures that the committee will enforce for the agenda, the knowledge of the UN and their committee's place in it are very important. Delegates will realize this, especially when they are forming their resolutions, whose operative clauses are these suggestions. Okay, second, if you could look at the second section of this graph, a comprehensive knowledge of your country is key to understanding what kind of actions and attitude your country will take in the conference. You have to do research on various statistical data, including population, government type, natural resources, trade data, and more. It is also important that you know about your country's traditional allies and enemies. The third point is, of course, the most essential part of your research. The specific background of the nation's viewpoints on the issues to be discussed. For this part, you should look into UN documents, then move into articles, books, and internet sources beyond the UN website. Past UN resolutions and reports, and also national statements made by your country are especially useful. The next two parts are also very important. To understand the current world situation and the positions of different countries is also crucial. It is important to understand that MUN conferences are forums not only of debates, but also of negotiations. Therefore, when you're at the conference, to recognize the delegates with whom you share ideas and interests will be useful, And you'll find this especially useful when you're forming resolutions. Finally, to be well aware of the rules of procedure will help you actively participate in the conference. And as I said earlier, active participation is key to a successful representation of your country and to receiving awards. So please try to read over the rules of procedure of KMUN2012 before you come to attend our conference. Now, this is the end of my presentation, and I'll hand over to our Secretary General, and she has important announcements to make. Thank you.